Cobbles, little Steve Bauer in between them. And once more, that group of 40 has been reduced to about 20. And there's Andre Schmill. Now beginning to find his feet once again in the Paris Roubaix. Andre Schmill has come to the front. Yates is on the right of our picture here. And I must say that Yates is looking to have read the move perfectly well at the moment. This is Franco Ballerini. Schmill wants a little bit of help. The gap is 1:37, so they've knocked about 45 seconds off with their hard work. But Schmill is now alone, the Lotto rider. I don't think he has any teammates in this group. There's Van Hooijdonk going through. The one man we haven't seen much of, but there he is, Johan Museo in the white jersey. So he read my thoughts there. He's up here in this group. So the Mappe boys, it's all going well for them. Ballerini and Museo, and they've got Tafe trying to tag on to the leaders out in front. Well, Van Hooijdonk at the start of the season was quoted as saying that the racing is now so fast and so difficult, it's probably as hard as it's ever been. And I thought I read that quote as a man who was then thinking like a little bit of a defeatist. But having said that, he's found his form this year, and he's right up there now in what has been a race which has often been kind to him over the years. So Van Hooijdonk is now in this leading group once again. There's Ballerini, always looking behind to check out what is going on. Van Hooijdonk got a second in Het Volk behind Ballerini. And then he finally got his win in Flèche Brabançon, which is a Belgian classic race, semi-classic. So it does seem that the older they get, these riders, they do continue at the top of their form. Gilbert Duclos-Lassalle is a prime example, and talking to him, we haven't seen much of him lately. Well, it couldn't be a nicer day for a little potter through the lanes heading towards Roubaix, except that the riders here are averaging just on 25 miles an hour. This is Max Chiandri on the right, trying to get another group going. The crowd enjoying the spectacle, but these three riders here now are trying to reach the four front runners. It looked to me as though it was Olaf Ludwig there with Ballerini and Chiandri. That was the group that make up of that little group trying to get clear. Very strong group indeed, all winners potentially. I'm not sure whether they can get away because they've left behind Museo, but while Ballerini's in on the act, Museo won't counter. This is the advantage of having a strong team for the classics. You can place your men like chess markers, and then you can put yourself in a defensive position and be carried back up by the other attackers. The remnants of the main field now down to a much more workmanlike group of round about 13 riders there. Well, they shattered that breakaway, but they're the three that's starting. Ballerini setting the pace. Ludwig and Maximilian Chiandri, who this year, by the way, has taken out a British racing licence because of his birthright, although he's always ridden for Italian, and indeed will remind you he is Italian. But the fact is he's never been selected for the World Championships, and that has always annoyed him, and he believes he can't break into the selection system. So to make sure he rides the World Championships this year in Colombia, he applied and was given a British racing licence. So no longer sure whether we should put him down as GB or IT these days. But the gap is 1 minute and 3 seconds for the leaders now. Well, I don't think the leaders are going to survive now, because the group behind, you can't control riders on the cobblestones. You simply go to the front and you set the fast pace and you keep it going, and I don't think those three leaders will survive it now. But we'll see. Johan Capio setting the pace there. Another man who's come right through, another great classic rider as well, who enjoys the early part of the season. Winner of Het Volk in the years gone by. This is the front again, and still Taffy looking across the fields there, because the course here twists and turns, They will know back in the chase group where the leaders are, because they will now be able to spot the helicopter hovering above the leaders in the road. That's how we bring you these pictures. And unfortunately, but the countryside here is so flat, they will know exactly where the leaders are, although they may not be able to see them at the moment. Chase group of 4 riders. Bortolami looks as though he's up in this group now, along with Ballerini, so the Mappe boys have got 2 riders up here. And a general regrouping of the best riders at the front of that group as well. Just the motorcycles allowed in with the spare equipment, because it's very difficult to work out at the moment just where these splits are forming, and certainly you can't get service cars in, but we're going straight up to the leaders, and they're now in sight of the chasers, and still Taffy is sitting at the back. And it looks to me as though Dietz is still doing the most of the work at the front. Raw aggression and perhaps a little bit of enthusiasm as well. Let's pull back and have a look who the chasers are. It's still a very big group down there. The rider looking over his shoulder is Johan Capio, sitting at the back. Now a chance to look down here as we see them go through. Ludwig is up here, Ballerini, Sean Yates, that's Capio, and this is Baldato here, Fabio Baldato, and sitting at the back, Motorola have the second man up here. The 2 men who get motivated by Paris Roubaix are both in this chase group, which I think will shortly become the lead group, and that is Steve Bauer and Sean Yates. Bauer sitting at the back. He's going to feel pretty good about the way things are going right now. A little check over his shoulder to see if that main field is going to get back. But each time you crack on the cobbles, well, it's another effort to join, and you can't do it forever. But in this group, we've certainly got Ludwig, Ballerini, Chandri, Yates, Bortolami, Baldato, Museu, Bauer. Nellison is here as well. So it's a real select group, is this now. Still a little bit of riders not wanting to work, a lack of cohesion perhaps, and that's going to leave that breakaway dangling out front. Museo just ticks through here. He's not really putting home the attack. Taffy they don't see as a winner for them, but they do see as an annoyance that breakaway. Baldato wants a drink, so he's going back for that. And George Hincapie has rejoined this group because he's here too. And there is Duclos Lazal, number 61. He's back. Edwin van Hooijdonk is here. Number 14 is Nicola Loda. It's a good move by the MG rider to come into this breakaway. So again, we've seen riders claw the way back from the remnants of the peloton. Some 60 riders have stayed in general contention since we left the Forest of Arenberg. But they're always, as the riders will say, on the rivet. They're not saving anything here because the pressure remains fully on, and Dietz is the man who sets the pace all of the time. Yekimov follows with Van der Arden and Andrea Taffy. Another attack going off the front of the main field. Bauer trying to get a wheel, looks over some help. There's Duclos Lazal passing through. Duclos is going to be very pleased with this at 40.5 years of age. I remember when Joop Zoetemelk had to defend his world title, and he was 40 years of age, the world body had to alter their race rules because there was a rule that you couldn't ride the world championships once you turned 40 years of age, and there they had Joop Zoetemelk, who won the title at 39, would not have been allowed to have a go at defending it, so the rules were changed. Now there seems to be a number of cyclists cracking the 40 years of age barrier. Another one is Danny Clark, the Australian, still winning the 6-day circuits, and he's 43. And if we bring it down to the American scene, well, there's Kent Bostic, who is 41 and a Pan American medalist this year. Gold medalist indeed. Well, whenever our camera comes back to the leaders, we only see Dietz do the work. I can't believe that the riders are letting him do all of the work, but he seems content and settled to waste his energy like that. You really can't do that and hope to win Paris-Roubaix. The gap has come down consistently. This looks like Johan Capio is having a go. Well, Johan Capio, a pro back in 1986. The gap is down to a minute. Started out in his first season with a third in the classic race between Paris and Brussels. But he finished third in Paris Roubaix in 1992. He made it sixth in 94. So he loves this race, and he started a move again now. He's decided the time is right to try and reach those four leaders on his own. And it looks as though nobody's going to chase him right now either. So this is Seclin. And there is the lone figure of Johan Capio, former champion of Belgium, the magic number 51. That number that keeps on winning the Tour de France. And this year, by the way, also won the Tour of South Africa on the back of Michael Anderson of Sweden. Nice little bit of an echelon, attempt to form an echelon on the bottom there of the peloton, but it hasn't worked. And here we go, back to the front. And guess who's in the lead? So we have a little sandwich here of Taffy sitting at the back doing nothing, hoping one day you'll see the arrival of his Mapai team. Museo, Ballerini, Bortolami perhaps. Bortolami won the World Cup, of course, last year. This is a World Cup race, very much so. This is probably the finest classic for any rider to win. The other one that they all like to win is the Tour of Flanders. And that was Museo's last week. Great victory for him. This is Capio. Very cramped style, rides very like Sean Kelly. This is the sort of style that they always devise in Belgium. You can always tell a Belgian cyclist by his style. Short reach, very cramped, saddle low because of the cobblestones to absorb the power maybe of the cobbles into those legs. And that looks like the style of Bortolami to me. Just trying to get across to the leaders. Gianluca Bortolami, the World Cup holder, has gone, so the Mappe boys are going to start blocking now. They put Bortolami up there. And well, having said that, just to prove me wrong, that's Ballerini who's flown out of that group. Franco Ballerini is trying to reach his teammate Bortolami. Well, he'll only go if nobody follows. He won't surely know. He's checking to see who's coming. The answer is nobody, I think. Because Franco Ballerini wouldn't take a rider of any note across to his teammate, surely. But Bortolami is up there and Ballerini is going for him, and Johan Capio is the other man. Well, any thought now that there was some serious damage to the shoulder of Ballerini, I think has gone out of the window, because that rider's on form. And that will certainly be good news. And it looks to me as though, in fact, Bortolami's now spotted the figure of Ballerini coming. They're good friends on and off the bike, although they're also teammates, of course. And I think if Bortolami's realised it, he's going to wait now, and he's just going to let Capio keep the pace tapping over until Ballerini gets up to him. This is a great move by Mappe, and now we know fully why Taffy was told to sit at the back of that breakaway, a breakaway he indeed created himself, and wait for the arrival of one of the big heads of the team. And now Ballerini coming up like a rocket here, and Bortolami is quite prepared to ease back too and bring him on too. Capio's not going to be interested in what's going on behind him. He's going to make it hard as possible. This is back up front. And in fact, it looks to me as though there's only 3 riders here, unless Taffy has gone off our picture to the right. Maybe the message has reached him. Let's have a little look. No, he's still there, sitting at the back. Well, I'm sure that sooner or later, the teammate or the team manager will come up and tell him what's going on. But now we have a serious move here as we get towards the end. We're round about 40 kilometers from the finish. And we've got 2 very strong riders and Capio coming up, and Capio well capable. It would probably go down as his finest victory, but he's well capable of victory in Paris Roubaix. Ballerini has joined them and sitting there at the back for a breather. But he won't want to make it too long, because indeed he's left some good riders behind him, including Duclos Lazal and Andre Schmil. And indeed his teammate Johan Museo, who will not be chasing now. Museo's position has been compromised in Paris Roubaix now, because he's the leader of the World Cup. But he can't advance that position without damaging the 3 riders from his own team who are out front. So this is the most interesting move now. And there's the result of the attack by Capio. They've now got the leaders down to 40 seconds. Surely they're going to pick them up. Sector 7 of the cobblestones. We're counting down to Sector 1, remember. We've got 4 leaders and 3 chasers. Now that is the corner which has remained defiantly wet today despite a week of warm sunshine, so you can imagine what it would have been like had we been continuing wet weather here in Europe. That's the corner where invariably one or two usually fall down. Today though, A-OK, as we now watch Capio finding himself in a Mappe sandwich with Bortolami and Ballerini looking down, right down this long, horrible straight road because the riders can see the attackers. There they are. And Museo sitting in second place, making Steve Bauer do the work. Ludwig is just behind him. And it's good to see that even when you're a born winner and a team leader like Museo, and indeed the leader of the World Cup, you are content to block and use all of the tactics to defy the others when you have your team on the attack. The team is more important than the individual, it seems, in the Mapai GB squad. Andre Schmil, last year's great winner, he went a long way out. Today he's a captive of the chase group, and just in front of him, center screen for us, is Gilbert Duclos-Lassalle. You can have nothing but total admiration for him, and it looks as though Capio has gone here. Capio's been dropped. Capio's been left here in the fields. Capio's finding that the team time trial by the two Mappe boys has put him in a lot of trouble. Now that is a little bit of a surprise. Very nasty corner, this one. Even our camera motorbike there took it a little bit gently. Oh, and in fact, Capio nearly went. Capio nearly went into the crowd there. It's going to take a while to get that big gear rolling again. So Johan Capio has lost ground. Regrettably, our cameras weren't with the riders when the attack came. So we don't know who created that move, but the both Mappe boys have certainly slipped a 1-2 onto Capio. This is the trouble he got himself into on this bend. You see, he lost his line on the cobblestones, and then he went right into the soft side of the road. He did well to come out of that. But being a Belgian, they are brilliant bike handlers. And he's back and riding again, but he's a little bit down the way now. We've got 4 leaders, 2 chasers, then Capio, and then back to the Museu group. Bortolami is the rider setting the pace, and they've halved the last deficit. They're now 20 seconds off the lead. 2 Mappe boys going forward here. This has been such a good race for Mappe, and a real chance too for Ballerini here now, a rider who has had this love-hate relationship with Paris Roubaix for years. End of sector 7. Taffy still content to sit at the back. Maybe blissfully unaware at the moment about the 2 teammates who are chasing, yet he will be expecting something to happen from his team. They've got a plan. And look at the speed of these two. They're out of sector 7 now, so that's never 20 seconds. I would say it's more like 10 or 12 seconds the gap now. These 2 riders are going across to the leaders. This will be a nasty shock to Van der Orden and Yekimov and Dietz. And I would think that Taffy will be all smiles when he sees 2 of his teammates arrive. The very 2 he would love to see, the World Cup holder, Bortolami, who had a magical season last year with 2 World Cup victories. And then a stage win also in the Tour de France, which almost got in the yellow jersey, but it didn't quite. That honour went over to Sean Yates at the end of that stage. And now an attack from the front, and you know, I think Taffy's gone. I think Taffy's gone. Can you believe this? Taffy has gone by himself. So Andrea Taffy, he may or may not know his 2 teammates are almost reaching out to touch the back of the lead group, and Taffy has gone himself. Now this is going to throw a little bit of confusion among the Mappe team, for the moment at least, but this is Andrea Taffy. He's having a tremendous Paris-Roubaix, because before we got vision on our cameras, we could see this rider. The pace he set at the front till he finally cracked the bunch went on for kilometres, and he never looked for any help until he finally got away. And then he formed that lead group of 4. Now he's sat at the back under orders, and now he's decided to go for gold right by himself. Well, he's about 40 kilometres. That's 25 miles from the finish. An awful long way to hold off everybody who are flat out in Paris-Roubaix. But it's been done before. And the 3 riders are about to be joined. This is the race now for first place for sure. Here come the Mappe boys. They're going to have a shock. They're going to find that Taffy's not there. And there's only one place he could have gone, and that's forward. But in fact, it looks to me as though Taffy is there now, because there are 4 riders back in our screen, so the reaction has come. We have 4 men. Taffy has been caught. And we now have Bortolami, who's done most of the work in this chase. Ballerini's come up and sat on him. And I'm wondering if these two have had words, and Bortolami has been told to set the pace and get Ballerini into the lead, and he's done that now. Ballerini, who once thought he'd won Paris Roubaix until they developed the photograph and then found he'd finished second. You can imagine how he felt. And that was back in 1993. We're looking at a man here who has finished 21 times in the top 10 positions of a World Nautic Classic, but he's very rarely the winner. Now he's got himself up into the lead again in the Paris Roubaix, a race in which he has always ridden so well. A race, by the way, in which he said back in 1993 he'd never come back to, but he comes back every year. They all do, cyclists. There's Dietz. Well, he must be feeling tired. He's gone to the back behind Yakimov. There's Taffy, so he's back in the fold too. Van der Arden. But Taffy is playing now the role of a teammate. He's got the men he wants up here. Oh, well, he's playing second place because this again is Bortolami who's gone to the front, turning a very big gear quickly. But there's now quality in this break. A lot of substances arrive now, and it's going to make it very difficult indeed for a reforming chase group to get back into contention. And all of the names, and I can't think of any offhand, who are missing from this chase group are here. Museo's in there, Baldato, Sean Yates, Chandri, Van Hooijdonk, André Schmil, of course, the rider who won last year. They're in this group. Duclos Lazal we can see in the white jersey. And the gap is down 25 seconds too, so although they've reached the leaders, it's nothing significant. This is going to be a great finish to Paris Roubaix. Surprisingly, not a lot of dust. We expected a lot of dust out there today, which is worse, I think, than the mud for the riders, because the eyes start to sting and then you start to see blurred vision. And frankly, it is terrible. Zone number 6 is just 1.4 kilometers long. Finishes at Thibault. And there's still riders can reach that group. But what a ride Museo must be doing, because he's slowing down all of the reaction here. Nelson is there. There's Museo, top of our picture, riding on the wheel, always it seems, of Bauer. And there's an idea of the gap, and also the public who turn out every year to watch Paris Roubaix. And the Roubaix Velodrome, where the race will arrive, where it first finished in 1896, this event is packed. They seem to manage to squeeze more people in every year. Well, the two men who created this race, Vienne and Perez, I'm sure they didn't realize quite what they started, the race to Roubaix back in 1896, but they've certainly continued the trend, because the riders have kept this notoriously the greatest classic of them all. Back with the leaders, Yakimov now on the wheel of Dietz. I don't think Dietz is feeling quite so good now. Bortolami has slipped through to the back as well. This is a real good breakaway of 6 riders, but the main chase is not very far behind. Incapi is also back in that group, don't forget. Second time he's ridden this. I can remember his words like it was yesterday when he walked out of the stadium last year. He just said, "It was awesome, man." And now he's back. He loves it. The sun now on the backs of the riders. They've been riding for over 5 hours. Team Motorola searching still for that big classic win, setting the pace once more. Latest time check, it's gone out since the two leaders caught up. It's 48 seconds now, and that's largely due to the blocking tactics, I think, of Museu, who's going through second and third man in the line and then not setting the pace and just waiting for somebody else to pick it up, and it's disrupting the rhythm of that chase group. It's also, there are too many riders there, too many teams involved, and it's very difficult to organize the pursuit properly. There's Museo again, out of the saddle, easing out of the saddle, taking second wheel and spoiling everybody's fun. You can't blame him for that. Van Hooijdonk. Nelson gritting his teeth and going through. Sean Yates going through. Duclos Lazal here, second. Baldato just in front of him. Duclos looks good, but he's just hoping, I think, a little bit that this group comes up. There's the dropped. Capio has come back into this group. He still looks quite good, but that's Capio. This is back with the leaders. In fact, Franco Ballerini has gone on his own. He's made his move here on the section of cobbled zone number 6 between Templeuve and Pont Thibault. Now, this is a good move, but he's leaving himself a fair way to run into the finish, but he knows 2 of those riders back in that chase group are not going to counter this move. That's the benefit of the strength of this team. He's made his move on the cobbles, and he has got the gap. As we pull back, you can see the chasers are there, but the gap is very definitely on. And this is Templeuve now. He's around about 32 kilometers from the finish, and that's just 20 miles to go. And Ballerini has put his gloves on the table here. He knows if it fails, Bortolami is still there. Taffy is still there, but we don't know how strong Taffy can be now. Franco Ballerini, he's riding better than ever before. He seems to have found all of his old confidence. He came up with his victory in Het Volk in Belgium this year. Turn professional. Duclos Lazal has got a problem. Lazal has punctured. And in fact, he wants the television camera out of the way. He is fuming. The camera's stopped to watch. Duclos Lazal, and I'll leave you to speak French because I'm not going to tell you what he's saying, but it's not very complimentary. Because in fact, Duclos Lazal, our cameraman, should not have stopped there. Because what he did was block all of these cars to get through. The gap is going, and the grand old man of Paris Roubaix may not rejoin now. And that look said it all at the television cameraman. Everybody gets a little bit excited when a flat tire happens, especially when it's a French cameraman with a French cyclist. But Duclos Lazal, I think, will have a lot to say when he gets to the finish now, because he's got to rejoin that chase group. That's a great shame. That's a great... In fact, he's still looking round at us here. So Duclos Lazal has a long, empty road ahead to catch up with that chase group. And we'll go back to the man who's setting the pace, Franco Ballerini. A quick drink and back into the thick of the action. And this is Franco Ballerini, a rider who turned professional back in 1986 when he didn't win a race. In fact, from memory, his best position was 25th in the Tour of Lombardy. There was no indication there he was going to be a superb classic racer. But I think he's fallen in love in many ways, in a strange way, with this race, because he's always ridden it well. 19th back in 1990, 5th in 1991. He has, of course, been 2nd and 3rd too. Now, Ballerini's laid his cards on the table. He's going to have to now hang on in there, because there's a general regrouping here. We cross the main autoroute to take the people through to Belgium from Paris, or up to Lille on the French-Belgian frontier. This race just zigzags through the autoroute route, but a little bit of counterattack, trying to come away. And again, Museo's sitting on the wheels, not offering anything whatsoever. Nelson has made contact, Van Hooijdonk has made contact. But Ballerini is going, and going well, still showing the scars on his elbow there of the fall the other week, or the other day rather, in Ghent-Wevelgem. When everybody thought that was the end for Ballerini, for Paris-Roubaix, well, we've all been proven wrong. Because now he's heading towards the finish in Roubaix, and you've just got that feeling he's going to make it. The gap is not yet significant. It's still round about 40 seconds. Duclos Lazal has punctured. The 5 chasers are falling back into this lead group. Andre Schmil looking for some more help, and again Museo goes through second wheel. There's Schmil saying come on and get the line going and get round Johan Museo. You see Schmil's opened the gap because he's dropped back waiting for help. There's no cohesion there whatsoever. Duclos Lazal also still struggling. He has not rejoined that chase group yet. That looked to me as though it's Capio's team car coming up for a chat. But here you've got Ballerini on section 5 of the pavé, just 5 sectors to go. And his lead is round about 45 to 50 seconds. So he's pushing it up. At least 5 riders here now are the remnants of that chase group, but they're falling back. There's 51 second confirmed. Ballerini goes into the dust, and the 5 riders here behind are no longer looking their fluid selves now. And I don't think the Dietz can have very much left at all. And the peloton are closing in on them all of the time. End of sector 5. The cobblestones are being ticked off now, and Ballerini is still going very, very strongly indeed. These are the worst sections of pavé now, but here's the good news. Here is Fernandez, who's going to tell him that he has a gap of almost 1 minute. But Bortolami is in there blocking for him, and in the main chase, Museo is doing a tremendous job. The bridesmaid, but very rarely the top dog. 1993 Ballerini, 7th Milan-San Remo, 6th the Tour of Flanders, 2nd Paris Roubaix. He couldn't quite get the wins. It goes even worse or better. 1991 he was 8th in the Tour of Flanders, 5th in Roubaix, 3rd in the Tour of Lombardy, won a stage of the Giro and finished 12th in the World Championships. Tremendous record, but if you're a winner, you trade them all in for just one big win each year. And there's Andre Schmil, and again our man in white sitting on him, Ludwig 3rd. And into the last sector of cobbles, well, the last sectors. This is sector number 4. Vogel, 242.5 kilometers done of the 266. Seeking the bit of dust on the left of the road and praying now that they don't get any of those compression punctures. You might note here that unusually for the riders in Paris-Roubaix, there is no form of suspension on Ballerini's bicycle, because in fact the maker of the machine didn't want to spoil the look of the bicycle. Minute 45, Ballerini is riding to victory, and the main field again has regrouped. A lot of riders in that chase group. I'm not sure in fact if Duclos Lasalle has rejoined, but he can't be far off getting back on. You see there is no cohesion there. It's left to Motorola again to start pushing the pace up. Now as long as they keep this up, Ballerini is going to win this race. He's going to win it by a couple of minutes. The Mappe boys have ridden a brilliant tactical race. Taffy early on, then Bortolami, Ballerini, and of course Museo at the back. A much different Paris-Roubaix, run off much more like a normal classic, despite the cobblestones, because the cobbles themselves haven't delivered the usual knockout punches yet. This is Van Hooijdonk having a go now. So Edwig Van Hooijdonk really seeing who's going to come with him. Well, Museo is straight on him and blocking him straight away. Meanwhile, out of sector 4 goes Ballerini. Van Hooijdonk is driving onto the cobblestones. Yates has got back up as well. But you see, Museo won't come through. He just locks off. The pace immediately drops. And here comes Juan Fernandez and Patrick Lefevre again with the good news. But, you know, Fernandez twice finished 3rd in a World Championship riding for Spain, so he's got all of the experience required now. He'll know exactly what Ballerini will want to hear. Well, the 5 are still hanging on by the seat of their pants. They're still out front. And again, Yekimov sitting in the middle, the Mappe boy sitting at the back, Van der Arden, and the man doing the pacing once more is Dietz. But they're not going to hang out here much longer. The main field are chasing them down. They're on the same stretch of cobblestones now. I have to say that Yekimov in his first Paris-Roubaix is riding superbly. And the man doing the damage in the chase is Sean Yates of Team Motorola. And the man trying to slow everything down in second place is Johan Museu. Well, Museo, I wonder how he feels inside. He must feel a little bit frustrated by the attack of his team, but on the other hand, it is the victory that counts for the team. But he's the leader in the World Cup, and he's seeing points sail out of the window at the moment. Although if they pick up that chase group of 5, the second place race is on, and second place points today would do him just nicely and would give Mappe the old 1-2 as well. End of segment, sector number 4. And again, that group is big. These are the other riders still out in front. They're about 40 seconds ahead of the main peloton. Van der Arden, Yekimov. With still the rough sections to come. They're in the region of 28 kilometers to go here. Dietz has had a lot of showing of strength here. If he can just package up that strength and put it into the right area of the race, you know he's going to win a big race. Now this is Ballerini. He's heading to the cobbles on sector 3. The crowd gets bigger as the race gets nearer to Roubaix and the finish. 248 kilometers covered now, just 1.8 meters, 1.8 kilometers rather, on this section. There's Taffy. Bortolami now knows that the end is near. The main chase is coming back, and it looks as though he might have a little bit of pins and needles there, because you grip the handlebars so hard on these sections of cobblestones. The riders quite often get blisters and also this attack of pins and needles. Ballerini is looking so good now on this section of cobblestones, and I just wonder if in his mind he is remembering what happened in Paris Roubaix in 1993. Well, we can take a look. Ballerini is waiting for Lazal to move. He's almost tempting him through. He's waiting to see the move come. This Italian must have some confidence. He's a cool operator, that's for sure. Down the back straight. Ballerini has looked, he's looked back, and Lazal has gone. Duclos has gone, and he's got the lead. Ballerini still takes his slipstream. He's going to have to come in the tailwind in the home straight. Ballerini will have to move in the last 50 metres now as Duclos Lazal goes for goal for the second year. Off the final banking. Now Ballerini is coming on the left of our picture. Ballerini, but Duclos Lazal is holding him. Ballerini thinks he's got it. His arm is in the air. So it's gone to the photograph for Franco Ballerini. Looking across now, he's no longer quite so certain that he has won. Yes, he is. He thinks he's won it. Let's look at the picture. Well, Franco Ballerini has lost it. Gilbert Duclos Lazal, who thought he'd lost it, and Ballerini doesn't know. It's not announced. He thinks he's won Paris-Roubaix. This is unbelievable. But the winner of Paris-Roubaix is Gilbert Duclos Lazal. There's no doubt about that now. Well, after that, he in fact said he would never come back, beaten by the photo there. And in 1994, he was back. He had 5 punctures and 3 crashes and still finished 3rd. And now he's out in front on his own, 1:25 ahead of the pursuers. And it's even slightly more than that over the main field, which contains Johan Museeuw, who could clean up if they manage to pick up Ballerini before the finish. Andre Schmil is now being left to do the pacemaking at the front. Baldato very evident too in this chase back. Nelson stands out there in his Belgian national champions jersey. This is the breakaway, and it's gone. Another attack has gone off the front of this breakaway. I think Taffy has gone this time. This is the second time that the attack has gone from the front, but the pursuers are in all sorts of trouble now. This has been a Mapai race from start to finish so far. And now we're seeing another attack again by Mappé. These are the legs of Ballerini. And he's off one more big section of cobblestones. Duclos Lazal is coming back into the picture here, the rider who was out of action with a flat tyre. And that's Steve Bauer. He's coming up behind too. Bauer in a little bit of trouble now in the closing stages. Seems to be in the dirt on the right of the road there. In fact, dropped by the group, but he might well get back up with the help of Duclos Lazal. And total panic here now as riders are scrabbling over the worst stretches of the cobblestones. You can see now the dirt being stirred up by the motorbikes just out ahead of the riders. Not a welcome sight for these riders at all. Long, long, empty stretches of road. There's the group that Duclos Lazal is finally coming back to. He'll bring Bauer back with him now. And just watch the bottom of our picture there. If the camera stays long enough, we might see Bauer, and here they are. They're swinging off that same stretch of cobblestones now. And Ballerini is continuing to forge a lone trail now towards Roubaix. The chasing breakaway has more or less disintegrated, and that third group on the road is beginning to reach them. Just 2 sectors of pavé left. And there is the second rider on the road now, and that's Taffy. So Mappé have both riders, first and second, with a chance of making it a 1-2-3 here. This would be unthinkable. First, second and third for the team. because Museo surely will take the sprint from the group. He's done virtually nothing except block all the time. And if you wanted to give a most aggressive rider's prize for today's racing, I think you must give it to Andrea Tafi. He has ridden so hard at the front and all the time really to lay the foundations for Ballerini as it's turning out. Here's Bortolami. This is the remnants of the breakaway. And Vyacheslav Yekimov always rides in that crouch pursuiter style which made him world famous when he rode in the red jersey of the Soviet Union. And he broke the world records on the track. Ballerini still tapping out the rhythm, suffering a little bit now, I think. And well, he should. A minute 25, he's still increasing his lead over the rest of the field. Well, he's going to be into the last 10 kilometers, Franco Ballerini. This breakaway has come back together again, more or less. Bortolami, Tafi, Yekimov again, they've all sort of regrouped here. This massive crowd watching the riders come out of the hell and get back onto good roads. But still the main field is only just behind them, and this is why they're trying to keep this breakaway together. But Yekimov has no option here but to do most of the work himself, I think. Bortolami knows his team captain is safe and now should start thinking of second place. But they won't want to take Yekimov too near the finish, because Yekimov will certainly find the strength to go alone. He's controlled the attack by Tafi. Now can he control that one, because Tafi was going again there. And Baldato sets the place ahead of Nelson. Edwig van Hooijdonk. Another rider gone through on the inside of our picture. And there's the attack by Tafi, once again crossing over the auto route here. Just one sector of cobbles to come. Tafi has been controlled by Yekimov. Yekimov a little bit nervous now as to wondering if Bortolami will be the next rider to attack, because they're trying to get rid of Yekimov. And the Mappe boys would then be free to ride to the first, second, third, and unthinkably they could get 4 places overall here because of Museo back in the pack. But this messing about by the chase group, I think, will be their downfall now. Ballerini has played his cards well. He's gone clear. The other 4 are left now with a strange combination. Dietz is the rider who has disappeared from that group and paid the price. As far as we know, he's fallen back into the Museo group. And there we have them all in the sights now, because the main field around the corner down there as well. Still Museo watching the moves but not playing any hand. Ludwig is there, and I think I saw Dietz in that group as well. Tafi's gone again here. This is the 3rd time he's attacked in about 2 kilometers. Minute 27, and now we've got Andrea Tafi going once more on his own. Their confidence has just hit the heights today. They've been doing exactly what they've wished in this race all day, the Mappe boys. They've ridden a superb race. 10 kilometers it is to go. Franco Ballerini. 6 miles from the finish. A long way when you're holding off some of the best riders in the world who are in full flight. Well, I haven't seen Ballerini afford himself one glance over his shoulders yet. He just knows now that if he gets caught, he'll get washed away. He's giving everything here. And what a change from a year ago when he had all of those problems with flat tires and crashes. None of that this year yet. Well, we're looking at a very clean Ballerini. The indications that this race this year has been over just the dust roads of northern France and no mud at all. Even so, the warm shower will be welcome today, especially for Ballerini, who now I think can afford himself a little dream of finally getting his hands on that big cobblestone trophy. 10th in the Tour of Flanders, winner of Het Volk in Belgium. And it looks to me as though these three know the end is near. They've gone through the 10-kilometre point as well, still that minute-and-a-half difference. And I think they're surrendering here to the group coming up, because I think this is it. They know it's right behind them, otherwise they would have been going. They've sat up. Let's have a look. And there they are, the chase group. It looks as though it might be a small group that's coming clear. Schmil is there, Yates is there, number 101. Well, that is Frédéric Moncassin. And Museo along for the ride as well. So Museo has come up now. And that's a good ride also by the Team Novell rider Moncassin, who is a good finisher. But it's not going to be the end, because this group is also joining on. So last year's winner, André Schmil. Now, there's only one rider out on the road apart from this group. Baldato's here, number 11. Placed last year. Ballerini, the only rider to survive now. Now, what a good move it was, as it turns out, to have left that breakaway, which did not succeed. Well, Museo and the team know that Ballerini's gone. I wonder how many of these riders do. There's Eric van der Arden riding on the shoulder of the champion of Belgium, Nelson, a jersey worn by van der Arden when he won this race. He was the champion of Belgium back in 1987. Number 17 is Chandry, another sprinter who will try to sharpen his legs for second place if it comes down to it. And I'm not sure, but it could be that, in fact, Baldato is asking who is in the lead or how far ahead is he. Well, the answer is 1 minute and 30 seconds. 90 seconds separating Ballerini from the group. And I think now that Baldato is in no doubt that Ballerini is in front by 90 seconds and about 6 kilometres to go to the finish. Nelson putting in his share of the work. Chandry right behind him. Baldato along for the ride now, it seems, because also the same must be said of Eric van der Arden and Edwig van Hooijdonk. Baldato's had a great start to the season. Won a stage of the Tour of the Mediterranean, a stage of the Tour of Valencia, a stage of Paris-Nice, and a stage in the 3 days of De Panne. That's a Belgian race, so he's got the form, 4 wins under his belt. But I think he's been outwitted now. His runner-up spot in the Tour of Flanders indicated him to be a favourite for this race, but he hasn't really been in a position to win it. Yates chooses to ride and flatten the cobblestones in the centre, while the others ride left and right. Nothing seems to hurt that man. The lone figure of Franco Ballerini, the end of the cobblestones, and now it's just a nice ride down into Roubaix, the arrival in the stadium, and this time they won't need the photo finish. But if he ever gets to see this video, he'll know just what a great big debt of thanks he will owe Johan Museo. Museo has sacrificed everything today to block for his team leader on the day, Ballerini. And Nelson here seems to be riding better and better as we get down towards the finish. Drawn by the fact, no doubt, that just over the border he lives. He's ridden a very good race, but not good enough to outwit Italy, who are now set to win yet another classic event. The great renaissance all started when Gianni Bugno won Milan-San Remo in record time a couple of years ago, and the Italians have never looked back since. Nelson doing a long turn, happy to see the cobblestones, I suppose, but nobody willing to work with him. It is still too unruly, this big bunch. Nobody really willing to give their all because they're carrying other likely winners with them. And a little bit of a move coming up on the left. Nelson spotted it and moved across. Well, it's over 90 seconds now, in fact, since we saw Ballerini pass by the balloon. So he's still going away. Big Wilfred out to get his revenge, no doubt, in the upcoming Tour de France. Yates goes through. And number 32 here, Rolf Aldag. First time I spotted him in the breakaway, just ahead of Andre Schmil. Aldag, a good sprinter. Andre Schmil, by this stage last year, was flying to victory, so he knows exactly how Ballerini feels. And it must be a great feeling too, when you've been so close. Second in 1993, the photo finish denying him that. Third in 1994, and now he looks certain to become first in 1995. Suffering he may be, but the feeling will be a good one. He come round there very wide. He didn't exactly take a racing line into that corner. Well, 10 seasons as a professional cyclist, and he hasn't won a race, in fact, since 1991. Until this year. He's had his down moments, but he's been so close as well. But the teams have remained faithful with him, and they knew he was going well. They must have had a doubt at the start with his injuries, but he's certainly by midway threw that rumour out of the window. He's just keeping the pressure on nicely now. He knows he's got a 90-95 second buffer, and that's good enough. That'll be good enough, in fact, to give him a lap of the track before the chasers make their entry right behind him. He's going to enjoy the next few minutes, I think. But there's always that nagging feeling, I suspect, in Paris Roubaix. You just don't know if those tyres are going to make it as well. They've taken a battering today on the cobblestones. You don't know if there's grit lurking in there. But it's over 2 minutes now. That's a beautiful margin. 2 minutes 8 seconds for Ballerini, and still no real chase here. I think that they've actually thrown the towel in. They're racing now for second place. Number 32 is Aldag. And Johan Museo looking very cool and waiting for the sprint. Max Chandri in the blue in the centre, he's leading. Nelson, it should be a great sprint anyway, because these riders are all sprinters. And there's another one there too, right in the middle, from Team Novell, Frédéric Moncassin, won Brussels-Kern this year. He's another fine finisher. And this is probably the reason why the riders are now boxing their own game here, because they just don't know who is going to take second place. I think they've now accepted that Ballerini has won this race, and he won it at about 40 kilometres out today. He broke clear of that lead group at 32 kilometres to go, 20 miles, and he hasn't looked back since, quite literally. This could be the last drink before we head into town. Yeah, there goes the bottle. So he'll be making the turn towards the finishing road and then into the stadium. 1 3/4 laps of the velodrome. There's a marvellous crowd there. They're treated to watching the whole of the race on a huge television screen, so they know the quality of the ride of this man today. A man who is not a prolific winner, but I suppose, in fairness, you could say he is a prolific loser of the classics. His biggest season came in 1990 when he won 5 races. And of the big races he lost, the Amstel Gold Race 5th, the Ghent-Wevelgem 3rd, the Tour of Flanders 10th, Paris-Roubaix 19th. He finished 4th in the World Cup though, because of consistency. And his victories included the Paris-Brussels and the Grand Prix of the Americas up in Canada. Still, Schmil now being left to make all of the pace and being marked heavily by Bortolami. He looked over his shoulder for a little help and then realised who it was, and he knew then he wouldn't get any. Bortolami equally has played a great role today. He dragged Ballerini across to the leaders, and then he set the pace, and then Ballerini went on, and now he's playing his role again as a teammate. Well, we've seen a marvellous team in action today, a team that has, every card it's played has worked. Schmil really is riding a champion's race in defence of his title, and he's still in with a shout for second place, of course, and you can't complain at that the year after you've won Paris Roubaix. And this rider, Ballerini, is now heading down to the right turn into the stadium. There's no doubt now he is going to hear an enormous cheer out there on the velodrome. The French and Belgian crowd here just love a rider who goes for it and takes it, and you can't deny Ballerini his greatest moment now. They'll remember the day that Duclos Lasalle got the victory when Ballerini threw his arms up in 1993. He thought he'd done enough. The photograph said otherwise, but now wait for the cheers, because Ballerini is going to race onto the track. It never fails to give you chicken skin, because the crowd here just love to see a winner of Paris-Roubaix come in alone. That's the way they always feel this race should be won. And Franco Ballerini shakes his head in disbelief. Now he sees the stadium and he's alone and he's going to win. The crowd love it. Onto the track itself now. Now the accelerations. He starts to go into the home straight. He'll have one lap to go here. Franco Ballerini is going to win this race as he goes round, and we can now join Paul Show in enjoying it.
Well, there you have it, Phil. Franco Ballerini has got one lap to go in this year's Paris-Roubaix. He's been so close over the last few years to taking victory in this race. He was so close with Duclos Lasalle a couple of years ago. It was a photo finish, and you can hear the crowd here. They're on their feet. They're saluting the man who should have won this race on so many occasions. What a fine performance by Franco Ballerini over the last 40 kilometres. Phil, take him over to the line.
With the greatest of pleasure, because Franco Ballerini, so often the runner-up, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, but never the winner. And today he's going to win, and he's going to enjoy this all of the way to the line. He just waves to the crowd. He may be Italian, but the people here today simply love him. They've got the memories of his defeat when a Frenchman won, but today it is a race for Italy and a race for Ballerini. And now we also have a race here for second place, because they're all together again, and can Johan Museeuw make it a 1-2? They have been a sensational team in the race today. They have not done anything wrong at all, and now it's up to Museeuw, who is a sprinter, to finish this off and make it a 1-2 for Mappé. And in fact, we've got Bortolami, the faithful teammate to the end, leading out Museeuw into the stadium. It's a long way to go for Bortolami, who must be tired. But Museeuw's second wheel there now. Yekimov is there too. So too is André Schmil. They've got a slight lead over the rest of the group, which has left the other sprinters out of it. Now Bortolami going as quick as he can. He'll stay as long as he can on the front, but his legs must be burning by now. And Museeuw will wait as long as possible, because Schmil can finish well. I'm not too sure whether Yekimov can after that long breakaway. One lap to go. The other sprinters have been outwitted there. Outwitted they have been, because they cannot get on now in what is just one lap of the track to go. Now Bortolami, he is looking so tired he can't go any quicker. Museeuw's going to have to go, and he's going to have to go early. He looks across, he sees Yekimov, he sees Schmil. Schmil is taking him on shoulder to shoulder. André Schmil, the man who won this last year, is now taking on Johan Museeuw. Museeuw is having to lead from a long way out, and he comes round into the home straight now. Museeuw sees the finish. He's got the advantage of the inside. Yekimov is coming on the left. Schmil is in the centre. It's going to be tight. It's going to be very tight indeed. Let's look at it again, because I really can't split here these two riders. On the right we've got Museeuw. In the centre we've got Schmil. I just believe Yekimov hasn't got there, but I'm not too sure whether Museeuw has either. And as they come up to the line, it looks to me as though Schmil has taken second place, and that will put Museeuw third. Let's have another look. Well, there's no doubt from that angle, André Schmil is second. And Bortolami has collapsed after the finish, and I am not surprised. He has ridden for everyone in his team today except himself. And Bortolami taking 10th place on the result as well. And Gianluca Bortolami has come of age after his World Cup victory last year. That was his big season, and I think this season could be even bigger. The Mappé team have had a great day today. They've conquered Paris-Roubaix. There's Nelson. He has finished in 16th place. And what about George Hincapie? He rode a brilliant race today as well. George, you had a marvellous race today. You were with that lead group almost until the end.
Yeah, I mean, I felt really good. Just the second to last pavé section was, you know, I was pretty tired, but I'm happy with what I did. Before the race started, I told you I wanted to get top 20, and I did that. So, you know, getting better every year. We'll see what happens next year.
Well, the bad news is, George, you didn't get top 20. You finished 21st, but don't worry about it. I'm sure you'll be back and you'll finish higher than that. What about Steve Bauer? Steve, you had a really great race. You were always in the thick of the action all day until just before the end. What happened?
Well, I rode a strong race. When there was a breakaway up the road, I was attacking, trying to go across to it, you know. I thought it was worthwhile to make the effort then, but just after Sizhuang, a second sector, after Sizhuang, about 20 kilometers to finish, I punctured my front wheel. I got a tire change. I made a big effort to come back to the first chase group, and I left a bit of energy on the road there, you know, chasing back on, and subsequently I lost contact with that group, and then I was chasing for the rest of the race. But I think without the flat tire, I would have been in the race for second place there.
The trouble was that once the Mappe boys established a lead, they really took a stranglehold of all the tactics on the race, didn't they?
Well, I think Johan Musia was a fantastic teammate for the guys that were up the road there. I mean, everything that was going, he was on it. You know, he was just so strong. He wouldn't let anything go except his own teammate, and that's what happened. I mean, only his teammates went up the road, and nobody else moved. He was so strong.
But at the end of the day, Motorola had a great race. They had so many men up there. Yates, George Hincapie rode superbly, yourself. I mean, it seems to me the older you two get, Yates and Bauer, the better you get.
Well, it's, you know, this is our type of race. I mean, I think we did a good race. Maybe without Johan Musia, we would have been up the road in a breakaway and chasing down Franco Ballerini. But like I said, Johan, he controlled everything. We did our best to make a move and go across, but there's nothing to do.
And for Steve Bauer, a 17th place today, and for this man, after knowing what it's like to finish third and second, Franco Ballerini finally gets his big victory in Paris Roubaix. He'll remember it for the rest of his days. And there it is, the cobblestone that the winner of Paris Roubaix this year, Franco Ballerini, will get to take home, and he will treasure it. He's finally got his hands on it. The result then, after this great victory, was Franco Ballerini winning by 1 minute and 56 seconds ahead of the next four men home, Schmil, Museu, Yekimov and Capio. The main field coming in over 2 minutes and 6 minutes behind. As the crowd walks away from the old velodrome here in Roubaix, well, the track has found itself a new hero in the Italian Franco Ballerini. I don't think anybody here on what was a large crowd could ever deny that man his victory in the 93rd edition of Paris Roubaix. The team made it for him, and it just shows you when you're a great favourite, like Johan Museeuw certainly was, what a great domestique, a helper he turned out to be when it came to blocking off the rest, while Ballerini won the day for his Italian Mappe team. Until the next time, on behalf of World Cycling Productions, I'm Phil Liggett saying goodbye.